live from Manila in the Philippines with the Philippines Lapine Club Incorporated. It's our education day. We've got a great group of show committee members and also members of the club here with us, and we're doing a lot of teaching today, a lot of learning. We just went through our standard of perfection, give a very, very brief synopsis of all 49 recognized breeds. We're going to move in next to a class that I like to teach to newer groups of ARBA members. That's identifying disqualifications, because we have our very, very first, well, it's our second ARBA sanctioned show in the Philippines coming up on Sunday. And it's going to be a big show. We've got over 200 rabbits entered in the show. And there's inevitably going to be some rabbits that have disqualifications. Those are rabbits that don't meet the standard. So I think it's really important if we go through this talk, look at some disqualifications ahead of time, and look at what those things mean so that when Sunday comes around, it's not like from outer space, a mystery as to what the heck I just said. What's a split penis? You know, what's an eye spot? But before we do that, we did have some questions from the last seminar from a local breeder here in the Philippines. She posed a question: can I get a Holland lock out of my mini loops? Is that correct? That's about the question was?
And so vice versa.
It's a good question in that both rabbits have lock ears. They're both small breeds of rabbits. Mini lops have a weight range of 4.5 to 6.5 pounds. Holland lops have a weight range up to 4 pounds. So that in and of itself, that distinction between the weights, is enough to tell you that they're two very distinct breeds. And then, as I recommended earlier to everyone in the room and everyone watching, if you're interested in raising rabbits to the standard of the American Rabbit Breeders Association, that's to buy this book. It's called the ARBA Standard of Perfection, where every breed is outlined very specifically as to how they're judged according to the ARBA. And in that book, it describes some Holland lops and it describes a mini lop. And I'm going to read the excerpt, two excerpts that really separate those two breeds. So, talking about Holland lops. Okay? In their body type description, it says top line, that's the back, the shape of the back, should start behind the head and carry back to the hindquarters. So if it starts behind the head and carries back to the hindquarter, it's essentially a level top line. You're not going to see this rise in depth of body like you do in breeds like a New Zealand or Florida White. Okay, so in the Holland lop, it's calling for this level sort of top line. It starts behind the head, carries back to the hindquarter. Okay, let's go forward in the standard and read the body or top line description and mini lop. Here it says the body should be thick set with good depth, rising to a slightly deeper hindquarter. So in essence, you're seeing this in the mini lop. So it starts off lower in the shoulder, comes up to a deeper hindquarter. Whereas the Holland lop, again, is more of a level, uniform top line from the head back. Mini lops come up, and around, like Rex or New Zealand. So that's a distinguishing, very, very critical feature. The Holland lop has a high head set. It has a level top line because its head is on top of the shoulder. Mini lops have a lower head set. It's glued to the shoulder, but it's at a lower position. In fact, that's further emphasized in the body description. So take a look again. I'm going to read from the Holland lop standard, from the head description of the Holland lop. When viewed from the head, from the front, the head is to be of good width, beginning from the front of the crown and rounding down between the eyes to an extremely short and well-filled muzzle. So it talks about roundness, right? Let's read the head description in the mini lop in that same regard. The head is to be set close to the shoulders. Again, not a high head set. And it's to be short as possible. The crown of the head is to be bold and arched with slight curvature. It doesn't say roundness like the Holland lop standard. The Holland lop standard also goes on and says that the head is to be, the head is to be, I want to get the right exact word. The head is to be set high and close to the shoulders. That's a huge difference between Holland lop and mini lop. Holland lops have a high head set. Mini lops have a low head set. Mini lops show a rise in top line. Holland lops show a level top line. Holland lops have a weight range up to 4 pounds. Mini lops have a weight range of 4.5 to 6.5 pounds. So in essence, can you get a Holland lop out of a mini lop? No. You can get a small lop breed that might maybe make that weight, but does it match the description of a Holland lob? Absolutely not. We have 49 different breeds of rabbits. Yes, they're rabbits. It's not like comparing zebras to gerbils, to camels, to elephants, to rabbits. But there are still very distinct language and wording that separates those breeds. That's what separates a Holland lob. Can you get a Holland lob out of a Holland lob? You can get a lot. Breed that's small, but is it going to match the description and do well? Okay, so answer that question. We got another question about breeding New Zealanders and Californians together and then being able to show the offspring. So if you breed a New Zealand and a Californian together, you have the rabbit that has essentially the same body type. It's commercial, it's meaty, it's muscular, grows fast, has flyback fur. One has points. That's the dark ears, dark nose, feet, legs, and tail. Where New Zealand is either white or solid red, solid black, or solid blue or broken, right? So if you breed, let's say, a white New Zealand to a California, that's not something that's uncommon because they're very similar. You can get showable offspring, yes, provided that the markings, they're born Californian, are not what we call martinized. Martinized, we're going to talk about that in the disqualification, talking about where to give it. If the markings don't have white color in the tail, white around the ears, white around the nose. Right? That may sound a little confusing, and we'll roll with that. But if otherwise they're marked like a Californian, yes, of course they can be shown from breeding Californian Jews. So that similarity is a lot closer than mini lops and Holland lops. Californians and New Zealanders are sisters. Holland lops and Holland lops and mini lops, they're like stepsisters. They're almost there. There's a similarity, but not exactly. Okay? All right, let's roll into our identifying disqualifications. And again, we're giving this talk because we're predating the show. The show's in 2 days. I'm going to judge this ARBA sanctioned show according to the ARBA standard. That's how all ARBA sanctioned shows are judged. They're judged by a licensed judge who's taken a test, read the book, and is judging on that standard. These are ARBA disqualifications for most breeds of rabbits. There's kind of a general little discussion about disqualification. If a rabbit or KB is disqualified, what happens? Well, it's eliminated from competition. The judge is disqualifying it usually the first time he or she has seen it in the class. And then it's gone. It's got bad teeth, it's got a spot in the eye, it's wrong color, it's out of the class, it's eliminated. It's not going to factor into the overall decision of the other rabbits in the class. Some DQs are not discovered by the judge. Back in the United States, we oftentimes have 2 shows in one day, 2 sanctions. In the morning, you get judged by Alan, and in the afternoon, you're judged by Ari. Okay? Well, in the morning, Alan didn't disqualify my rabbit, but in the afternoon, Ari disqualified the same one. That's because Alan missed a disqualification. I'm a human. It's possible that one judge will disqualify a rabbit and another one won't, because he or she missed it. As well, some disqualifications are what we call judgmental, meaning that I have the power as a judge to say, I could see another judge disqualifying this, but in my opinion, it's going to pass. Ari has the same power when she judges that afternoon on some disqualification. She goes, well, I don't know if Alan passed it or not, but to me, that's a disqualification. Okay, so that's called a judgmental disqualification. Some disqualifications are genetic, and some are environmental. Genetic meaning, if you breed this rabbit with this disqualification to another rabbit, there's a chance that that disqualification is being passed on to the next generation. All right? Like eye spots, bad teeth, white toenails. Okay? Some are environmental, meaning like an injury. Say the rabbit got poked in the eye as a baby and it got scar tissue over the eye. That's not a fault of its parents. That was because something bad happened to it. That was a factor of the environment that it was in. Okay? Meaning that if you bred that rabbit who's got a bad eye, it can't be shown, but it still could produce rabbits that, of course, doesn't have that disqualification because that disqualification was a factor of its environment. So that's a really important distinguished feature between disqualifications. Because I may disqualify some rabbits on Sunday that are good rabbits. They just don't happen to meet the standard for show, but carry a disqualification that was a factor of where they came from or how they were managed, okay, that otherwise could be used for breeding. And hold a good relationship in a breeding program. And some DQs are permanent, Most of them are. Some of them are temporary. If you have a broken toe, that's a DQ. But guess what? Broken toes, like if you have a broken finger, broken arm, well, not a broken arm perhaps, but if you have a broken toe and you're a human, about a few months it's going to be healed. It's going to be stiff again, it's not going to be limp. Okay, so that's an example of a DQ that maybe DQ today, but a few months later it might heal. Right. We're going to go into a little more depth on each of those. So, a DQ, elimination from competition. If you're disqualified in your class, that means you cannot go any farther. You can't compete for best of variety, best opposite sex of variety, best of breed, opposite of breed, best in show, reserve in show. Basically anything beyond where it was disqualified from, you cannot go any longer. It also disqualifies you if you're entered later on in the day in the fur or wool class. So for example, if you raise Angora rabbits, after you get your English Angoras judged, there's another class you can enter. It's called wool. Okay, they're judged only on their wool. If you were disqualified in the breed for English Angoras, you cannot go on to compete in the wool class. Okay? Satin rabbit, you can enter the satin fur class. If you were disqualified in your satin black buck class, you can't go on that later that day and compete in the same show in the fur class. Okay? Some of this is a little more complicated. Some disqualifications actually take away the number of rabbits that the secretary notes in terms of the number of the class. So for example, if there's say 10 New Zealands, 10 black New Zealand senior bucks, and one is disqualified for a white toenail, okay? It still means on paper the secretary will still send a report to a club or to the exhibitor that says there were 10 in that class. However, if one of those in that class was disqualified for being the wrong sex, remember we're talking about black senior bucks, say it was disqualified because someone put a doe in the class. Instead of 10 rabbits on paper now, you have 9 rabbits. So some disqualifications actually factor into the number of rabbits that are recorded for that class. That makes a difference if you're trying to win legs. Okay, say instead of 10 rabbits, you've got 5 rabbits. If there were 5 rabbits, and 5 rabbits and 3 exhibitors, if you win first place, you get a leg. Okay? Say there were 5 black New Zealand bucks. One is disqualified by the judge for being a doe. On paper, that now becomes 4 bucks competing. Can 4 bucks qualify to the first place rabbit as being a leg winner? No. You have to have 5 in the class by 3 exhibitors. If one's disqualified for being the wrong sex, and there were only 5 to begin with, and 4, it nullifies the ability to have a leg. We talk about this. Some judges don't find DQs. Okay? We're all human. This DQ right here, for example, it's an eye spot. See that eye? See that fleck of weird color? That's a DQ. It's called an eye spot. Eye spots are missed by a lot of judges. I miss them, I guarantee you. When I pose rabbits, I pose with the head a certain way. And I don't always get a good chance to look at the other eye, the other side. I don't see it. So, if it has a bad eye on one side, I might not see it. I try to. I really try to spend a lot of time, but I've got sometimes 250 rabbits or more to judge in one day. I only have 8 hours to do it. I gotta move fast. Just because one judge disqualifies it or doesn't disqualify it, doesn't mean it doesn't have a DQ. It means that somebody missed it or somebody didn't see it. This is like a common one I get asked as a judge. Well, you disqualified my rabbit, but it won best in show in the first show. You know, I'm talking about the afternoon show and I judge it. I'm sorry, maybe the judge missed it. Or that happens to me. My best in show. The exhibitor comes later and says, it was disqualified in the second show because it has a red toenail. I missed it, I'm sorry. I try not to miss it. Every judge tries not to miss the disqualification, but it happens. The rabbits, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. Right, some DQs are judgmental, which means that Ari's opinion as Judge 979 may differ from my opinion as Judge 854. It's a subjective disqualification, which means that it hinges on someone's opinion. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. It's the way that our standard allows for some DQs to be subjective. Not all DQs are subjective. Some are. So that human element factors in. Some DQs that cannot be protested by an exhibitor. You know, say Ari has a rabbit, she disqualifies, okay? But earlier in the day, I gave it a best of breed. The exhibitor's mad. Artist just disqualified my rabbit going best of breed. I'm going to protest. Okay, some DQs, an exhibitor has the right to protest. Some they don't. Malocclusion or bad teeth, toenails, mismatched toenails, white toenails, broken color pattern percentages, whether the rabbit's got a snot, a cold, pastorella, wrong tattoo, sore hocks, those kind of DQs, they can't protest. Some other disqualifications like eye spots, you can protest. Okay? It's a little bit too complicated for this talk, but I did want to mention that there are some disqualifications that hinge on some really in-depth things. Environmental DQs. Those are DQs that are factors of their environment. Those are not genetic. So things that happen during the life of the rabbit, or the course of the rabbit, before it got to the show, or sometimes at the show. A rabbit can break its toenail at the show. Broken toenail is a DQ. Or sorry, let's say broken toe. That's actually the bone. It can break its toe at the show. And then by the time it gets to the judge, it's got a broken toe, so the judge DQs it. That's environmental. It happened. Had nothing to do with the parents, had nothing to do with genetics, had nothing to do with lineage it came from. A rabbit with a broken toe, if it's a great rabbit, meets the standard, absolutely take it from the breeding. That DQ has nothing to do with its ability to be passed on to the next generation.
What white spot? What white spot?
White spots.
So I put an asterisk down here. Some white spots are genetic. Okay, some white spots are environmental. A white spot in a colored rabbit, so like a black rabbit, is a disqualification, no matter what breed you have.
Then a white spot.
A little white spot, yeah, right? If a rabbit is injured, say as a baby, say got scratched or bit by the mom, and it's a black rabbit, for example, sometimes once it heals, white hairs grow there. That's an environmental white DQ, white spot DQ. Some rabbits are black that grow white spots. Genetically, had nothing to do with whether it was an injury there or not. That's a DQ that's genetic. So white spots can be genetic or it can be environmental. As a judge, I'm not a fortune teller. Ari's not a fortune teller. We have no idea what happened to that rabbit before it got there to that day. To us, that's a white spot. Genetic DQs, those are things that are heritable, passed on from one generation to the next. If you disqualify or your rabbit is disqualified for having a DQ that is essentially genetic, you need to strongly consider whether or not you're going to be breeding that rabbit in the future. Because likely it's going to pass it on. Bad teeth, for example, is malocclusion. That's a genetic, usually a genetic disqualification. Another one is ear length. If you have mini-rex, okay, maximum ear length on mini-rex is 3.5 inches. Say you have a mini-rex with 4-inch ears. That's long. If you breed that rabbit to another mini-rex, you have a chance of perpetuating or making that disqualification occur again in the next generation. So that's when you've got to consider this trait can be passed on. Do I really want to subject the rest of my breeding program of my herd with those DQs? Let's talk about toenails. They can be either environmental or genetic. Environmental, broken toes, we talked about that. It happens at a show, it happens at home. Judge sees it, it's a disqualification. Also, toenails that are too short to see the color. A judge can actually disqualify if your toenails are too short and you can't see the color. Why would they want to disqualify if they can't see the color? Because white toenails are disqualification in colored rabbits. So if it's too short for a judge to see whether or not the color is white or colored, the judge has the ability to disqualify the rabbit.
What mismatch?
Sorry?
Mismatch. Mismatch.
Okay, so Mr. Lin, look at this photo here. This is 1 foot on the rabbit. You have a black toenail and a white toenail. That was essentially mismatched. Okay? So this rabbit could be disqualified for having mismatched toenails or white toenails. It means both are disqualifications. This one has clearly a white toenail. But in reality, that black toenail needs to be the same color as all of the other toenails on the same foot and corresponding foot. So if there's one that color, they all need white. If they're all white, it's a black rabbit. It's always a DQ. White toenails like this, that's a genetic DQ. There's nothing that happened in that rabbit's life that made that toenail white. There's DQs that surround the genitals of the rabbits, both in bucks and does. in bucks, we're going to see more of these DQs that are more present and easier to define. This is an example of a split penis in this photo. Split penis, that's a penis of a rabbit. And you can see, does it not look like it's cut up and down? Like someone took a knife and cut it? They did not. It was born that way. It's a genetic DQ. Some DQs that have to do with the genitals, though, are environmental. Vent disease. That's like syphilis in humans. Rabbits can get it too. It's called vent disease. It's a red inflammation of the genitals, whether it's buck or doe. And it's a DQ. You can give them a shot of penicillin, and it'll go away. So if you show in November, it gets DQ'd for vent disease, you take it home, you give it a shot, it gets better. December comes around, the vent disease is gone, it can be shown again. And it won't be disqualified. Make sense? Another genetic DQ for the genital area are undescended testicles, and we'll talk about that in a second.
One ball DQ.
Sorry?
One ball DQ.
One ball, yes. One ball. That's what it means, one ball. And I've got some pictures we'll go to in a second. But this is the split penis we just talked about. So this is what a normal rabbit penis looks like. And everybody's smiling. It's a little awkward. But this is a disqualification in rabbits, and it's actually quite common in some breeds. The small fancy breeds like mini rex, Hollands, and then Dwarfs, you're going to see more split penis. Why is that? I have no idea. You just happen to see a lot more of it in those breeds. This is a good penis. That's not a good penis. You see the difference? Okay? And I'm not talking about size. I'm talking about the shape. Right here, from here to here, it's a big split. Okay? It's a genetic DQ. Oftentimes, by the way, rabbits that have a split penis will not physically be able to breed a gel. They cannot penetrate a female. Thank God. Because, like I said, it's very hard. This is, Mr. just brought this up, this is undescended testicles, or non-descended testicles. This is what it should look like. You've got two well-formed testicles in a senior buck. Anything over 6 months old, if it's a male or a buck, needs to show both testicles. This is an adult male or adult buck. There's one clearly defined testicle here, and you see nothing over here. Okay, not only you don't see protrusion in the development of the testicle, you don't see any skin. There's no scrotum here. Okay? In fact, there's fur growing over it. That's because at some point in its life when it was younger, the testicle didn't drop. There's an inguinal canal that actually pinches the ability for the testicle to drop. When it was younger, the canal fused up the testicle as the ball, as Mr. Brown says. It's up inside, never came down, never dropped. It's a DQ. It's also going to be very hard if it was a small testicle, a small ball. Vent disease. These are environmental DQs right here. This is vent disease. So that's scabby, red, inflamed. Penicillin, come back a month later, probably totally fine to show. It's a sexually transmitted disease, and we're talking about rabbits breeding. If you have a rabbit with vent disease and you breed it, guess what? The rabbit you just bred it to has it now. And then every rabbit you bred the other one to has it now. Vent disease can spread very, very fast in a barn. So if you find it, you better keep good records. So you say, oh, I bred Joe, the black mini rex. He's got vent disease, and I bred him for 10 does last week. Go back in your records, look at those does. They're going to get it too. So treat them as well. But once you treat it, come back and show again after it's gone. It must be gone first. A pimple on the penis, also a DQ. You can see that's like a white pustule. Those can come and go, and you can pop them and clean them up with good reception. Malocclusion, that's also called bad teeth. There's two different versions. There's one called simple malocclusion, and there's one called basically malocclusion, or full-blown malocclusion. Simple malocclusion are when the teeth, like in this photo here, meet head-on. Top and the bottom teeth will meet like this. There's no overlap. Like our teeth, that's proper alignment for rabbits as well. Top teeth overlap the bottom teeth. It's a less severe version of malocclusion, nonetheless, it's a disqualification. Okay? Full-on malocclusion can be called wolf teeth. Unlike human teeth, or teeth in a lot of animals, rabbits' teeth continue to grow throughout their life. So if the bottom teeth aren't rubbing properly in alignment, the bottom teeth will continue to grow and actually grow out of the mouth and continue and wrap around, and the rabbit will be able to eat, and essentially the rabbit will die unless there's good management, good care by the caregiver, by the owner. So that's why proper alignment is super important. That's why we disqualify the actually.
Is that genetic?
Very, yes, very genetic. It's kind of debated whether or not a rabbit can pull its teeth on the wire, like, you know, it gets angry and it wants to get its food or whatever, and it's pulling on the wire, whether or not that can change the alignment of the teeth. But for your safety, I think that it's best to assume that it's going to be genetic.
I put wood. That
You put wood in the cages to help
chew.
to help chew and wear down the tooth. Yeah, that can be somewhat effective, and that's why rabbits' teeth continue to grow, unlike our teeth, because in the wild, rabbits are eating forages and roughages and things like that, and they need their teeth to be able to regenerate themselves because they will break, they will wear off. So yeah, it's a healthy habit. With that said, if you gave a block of wood to this rabbit, it's not going to help. At this point, these teeth are like this, like a bulldog. They're forward of the top teeth, and they're going to continue to grow. It's also called wolf teeth. It's DQ. It's not fun. So that's full malocclusion. Simple malocclusion. In this photo, where the top teeth and the bottom teeth meet head on. Both of these versions are considered malocclusion. This is a more severe version. Nonetheless, they're both disqualification from competition. Here's another environmental DQ. That's a DQ that might happen one weekend at a show, but may not occur the next weekend. That's snot. Snot's like the street word for it, snot. Disqualifying itself for snot. Sounds awful. It's really pasteurella. That's the upper respiratory where they get mucus coming from the nose. This is another one. It involves environmental, like you might disqualify one show for it and not the next, because they actually have to show this white purulent discharge. Okay, don't mess with it. If your rabbit has snot, don't keep it. It's very hairy. They're not hairy, but it spreads very fast around you. In an environment like this where it's hot, you guys are keeping rabbits in a closed environment where there's not a lot of airflow sometimes because you're trying to keep it cool. Things like this can go very quickly, very rampant.
What's the best medicine for that?
Getting rid of it. Getting rid of it. There are some medicines, yes.
So tiring.
Like Batesville works, I would say probably the best. But something like this, if you breed rabbits that are susceptible, more susceptible to pasteurella than other rabbits, they're only going to make babies that are also less resistant to it. The best way to get rid of pasteurella is to breed rabbits that are strong, healthy, and able to not have pasteurella at a level that presents itself like this. Does that make sense? Yeah. Just the best habit is not to have it. Conjunctivitis is another environmental DQ. That's the inflammation of the inner eyelid. Can become very red. Can get mucus coming down the eye. It's gross. Really gross. That can be treated with some topical, like gentamicin. It's probably the most effective. You can use topical penicillin from dry cow. It's a science medication. Okay, eye disqualifications. These are the ones that judges miss sometimes because it's not. It's every day where you're not always looking at every eye. Every rabbit has two eyes. You're getting so focused on your judging, and sometimes you forget to really give a good look at the eye. Eye spots right here. That's like an abrasion or maybe an injury to the cornea. You can see that white spot there or that lighter spot. Eye spots can also, like this, can have happened because another rabbit or maybe itself maybe poked itself in the eye with its nail at one point and it came back like that. But it can also be genetic. Holland lofts, for example, Netherland dwarfs, Dutch, dwarf photos, they genetically, for some reason, get eye spots. So if you're raising those breeds, it's really important to look at your eyes and your rabbits that color to see that they don't have that. They need to be one color. That color is defined in your standard perfection. Another DQ for the eyes is walleye. That's the street term for it. What it really is, it's an ulcer in the eye. You can see that. Also, sometimes called moon eye. It looks like the full moon, doesn't it? In the eye. That's what we call moon eye or walleye. It's an ulcer. Disqualifications that have to do with ear. First of all, every rabbit, if you're showing it at a sanctioned show, needs to have a permanent tattoo in the left ear. By permanent, I mean that it has ink that's not going to fade away. You have ink that shows today as it will next month, next year, and the same tattoo. A permanent tattoo is not made with a marker. It's not made with Sharpie. So if I'm judging rabbits, for example, and I run my hand over a tattoo and it disappears because somebody wrote it with a Sharpie marker, I disqualify it for not having a permanent tattoo in the left ear. Okay? Say it has a permanent tattoo, but it's in the right ear. What do I do?
Disqualified.
Disqualified. The ARBA standard of perfection says, to be shown, you must have a permanent tattoo in the left ear. Another DQ that has to do with ears, mites.
Tattoo on both ears allowed?
It's okay.
Yes, you can have a tattoo in both ears, but the unique identification that is unique or specific to the rabbit you're showing needs to be in the left ear.
Left ear.
Left ear always. The right ear may have a registration. You know, if it's registered by the registrar and has an R with a circle around it, it may have another number as well. Or in Europe, rabbits are tattooed sometimes in countries like in both ears.
It's allowed.
It's allowed, and it's allowed in our country too to have a tattoo in the right ear. But the one ear that a judge will read, and that's like must be, is the left ear. Always identify the rabbit by the left ear.
The identification number should be on the left ear.
Always the identification number is on the left ear. Right. Must. When we first started judging the ARBA shows in Southeast Asia, it was kind of controversial because some of the people were like, "These are my pets. I don't want to put a tattoo in here." So it took some time, but we had to teach the exhibitors, like we're going to do this weekend, that if you want to show rabbits, and we're going to go into this higher standard and raise them to this standard of perfection by the ARBA, there's going to be some practices that we have to use to identify. A rabbit has a permanent tattoo so that that rabbit forever has that identification. So you can't show the same rabbit on paper that may be not the same rabbit the next weekend. Make sense? So you may call Joe, and then come back another month later with another show and say, well, that's Joe again. How do you prove that it's not a different Joe? Because of the left ear tattoo. So tattoos are meant as a unique way of identifying the rabbits and making sure that that rabbit gets its credit, its legs, and its grand championship or whatever prestige it may get for a lifetime. All right? Back to the ear canker. Ear canker is an exacerbated form of ear mites. Ear mites are awful, disgusting. But guess what? As awful as this looks, and with proper treatment, whether it's mineral oil or ivermectin, an excellent product, it can go away and you can come back and show again. This, like Pasteurella, though, can spread rapidly through a rabbit farm. So if you have rabbits like this, if you have one rabbit like this, there's a chance you have more of them. So check all your rabbits. Keep on top of it. Keep them on a good regimen with ivermectin. I like ivermectin. I did some volunteer work in Haiti, and some of the practices were mixing ivermectin with like mineral oil and putting it in the ear and putting it on topical. That works, okay, but really, injectable ivermectin is the best. Color DQs, there are so many. Second point. Every color is defined very specifically for each breed in this book. Standard perfection. You want to know what a tort hollow knob should look like? A normal tort hollow knob should look like? Guess what? If you read it in here, it says nothing about a blue front foot. Okay? It needs to be this color all the way around. This rabbit was disqualified because it had normal tort over here and then a blue front foot here. That's such a rare DQ. I was kind of excited when I found it. I was like, wow, I've never seen one like this before. So I took a photo of it so I could share it with other people later on. Very common color disqualification. You have broken blacks. That's black and white rabbits, like a broken black mini rabbit or broken black New Zealand. And they might have a blue spot randomly somewhere else on the rabbit. Maybe very small, but it's still a disqualification. So color disqualifications can be very, very rare. We talked about this earlier with Mr. Lin. We talked about white spots and white hairs, whether or not they're environmental or genetic. As a judge, a white spot is a white spot on that day. It's a DQ. Maybe you know the story as a breeder behind it, whether or not it was an injury that came back white, or whether or not it was actually the way it was born. But as a judge, we don't know. We judge them because white spot, colored rabbits can be Dutch, more photos, and breeds that recognize the white variety. More photo, Dutch, and breeds that recognize blood white. That needs to be a pure white rabbit with brilliant blue eyes. Okay? Sometimes you see black hairs, especially in more photos, like the tips of their ears, or the base of their ear kind of hiding, or maybe down here by their butt. That's a DQ. It needs to be a pure white rabbit. So just like white spots for DQ color rabbit, colored spots and essentially white rabbits are also disqualification. And again, whether or not they're disqualified does not depend on whether it's environmental or genetic. That's a breeder. That's the breeder side of DQ. To us, as a judge, it's a DQ. Okay. The question was posed during our break about Himalayans. Eugene asked this. He said, "Hey, if you have a Himalayan marked rabbit, whether it's Himalayan pointed white or California marked, and it has smut, is that a factor of its environment?" And if you ask anyone that raises those colors, they'll say yes. In the colder times of year, those marked rabbits can get smut. It can be sometimes here on the belly, it can be over the back and the sides. The standard for all those California Himalayan pointed varieties say smut. That's this color right here. That's also smut, exactly. That's smut here and smut here. On the usable portion of the pelt, that means here's okay. Here's fine. Smut on the usable portion of the pelt. That's anywhere except feet, legs, tail, nose, and ears. If it's anywhere else, basically the body. That's the usable portion of the pelt. That's it. So it's a very tough variety to raise, especially in colder environments.
PW. You're right.
Pointed white.
Pointed white.
Again.
Pointed white.
So in, let's say, what calls pointed white? Jersey woolies. Right.
Yeah, that's pointed white.
It's called pointed white. It's the same thing as Himalayan white. It's the same thing as California. Jersey woolly makes it complicated. They say we're going to call it pointed white. Okay, but in other breeds, it's really the same thing. It's like the difference between castor and chestnut is they're going to argue with me back home, but really. Okay, and then unrecognized colors. This often happens when we go somewhere brand new. Every time we come to Asia for the first time, I was very fortunate to judge the first show in Indonesia, and Singapore, and Malaysia. Here for the second time in the Philippines. Unrecognized colors. Rabbits can do a lot of strange things when it comes to color. They can make rainbows of color. And they're sometimes very pretty. Some of the most beautiful colors I've ever seen in my life were unrecognized colors. So this is a baby Manirex, for example. Its color is like a Japanese Harlequin, or what we call maybe brindle. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, maybe not that one. It can be beautiful, but it's not recognized, unfortunately. So it's possible we're going to see that on Sunday. I'm sorry, I'm going to give you those, but I'm going to explain why. It's not recognized. If you want to know all the recognized varieties, get one of these books. I keep saying it. They're all written down in there.
That's also a DQ?
Also a DQ.
That's
yes.
a DQ.
Okay, we talked about breeding Californians to New Zealanders. All right, California has points on the ears, or the sepia color of the ears, the nose, the feet, tail. A white New Zealand is essentially a white rabbit. If you breed a white New Zealand to a California, because they're the same body type, right? Same fur, they're sisters. You can get what we call marknized Californians. Marknized, also called tan pattern. They have white tail. If you flip over a Californian that has correct markings, it will have a dark colored tail. But these will have white. They also have white nostrils. See that white line right here? Right there? Does this one have it? Nope. Does this one have, that's a bad picture, I took that picture.
It has.
But this one also has a dark undertail.
Still have dark tail.
Dark nose. That's acceptable. This one, white nose, white tail. Those are signs of martinization, also called martinized, also called tan pattern. Okay, it's kind of an in-between. This is a really good photo of martinized ears. You can see this white ear lacing. This and this, they were actually the same rabbits. So, or the same rabbit. This ear, right here, belonged to this one. I don't have a photo of this one, but if you saw a correct color, a non-martinized, non-tan pattern, you would not have white ear lacing. This would be colored. It would match this color. Okay? So that's what happens when you cross a white New Zealand with a California. Usually the F1 or the first cross, that first generation, will have color issues. Right? If you're in a breeding program and you're raising rabbits, that's not such a big deal because rabbits breed like rabbits, and you might keep one of those that has DQ, breed it back to a real California marked one, and then the F2 generation, the second generation, will have perfectly fine markings. Why did you decide that you breed New Zealand to California? Well, because they're really similar, and each of those two breeds, while they have essentially the same body and meat-producing properties, have their own strengths. New Zealand's tend to be more muscular, okay? A little better loin shape. But they can sometimes be a little longer. Okay, that's not correct, that's the bad side. Californians tend to be a little more close coupled, a little bit better in the front, but maybe not as muscular and wide of a loin. So if you're in a place like the Philippines, man, where there aren't just Californians and New Zealanders to buy from breeders like we have back in the US, I mean, I can go travel a couple hours and buy something different. You don't have that ability. So it might be advantageous, might be a benefit to you to have to crossbreed sometimes, those New Zealanders and Californians, because you don't have the genetic pool like we have. And if it's done correctly and done, you know, with a plan in mind and very understood mind, like, hey, this could happen. But it's all a piece of the big puzzle. It's a piece of what I want to do. It's F1. I really want to get to F5. It's going to be the best rabbit in the world. Okay? That's all part of the plan. You understand that. But if you bring a New Zealand or a California, I should say, like this to the show, it's going to get DQ'd. But, like I said, if you know what you're doing, and you knew you were going to get DQ'd, but it's all part of the puzzle for your later on plan and your goal, then it's totally fine. So go ahead and do it. Okay, here's a good one. Color DQs. The color chestnut, it's an agouti color. It's like if you blow into like a chinchilla, it'll have bands, very clear bands. In steel, when you look at it from the outside, like kind of quickly, like steel almost looks like chestnut. Steel is part of the tick group, where chestnut's part of the agouti group. So if you blow into a steel, which is this one right here, you don't see banding. You don't see very clear bands. Like, there's this like delineation of color right here, but that's really not the band. Look over here. This is a really bad color, but it is more on the agouti side. If you have a steel that has banding, meaning it's like it's trying to be agouti, trying to be chestnut, it's DQ. It's a bit too complicated for this today. I really shouldn't talk about it. Let's just not talk about it. Genetic DQ, we talk about white spots. Look at these white spots on those rabbit. Not a good. This is really cute, right? Really cute face, fat cheeks, but it's broken. Meaning it's a white rabbit with colored ears, spots on the body, eye circles, but it's missing something really important right here. It's missing the butterfly. It needs to have at least some color around the nose to qualify for a nose bar. Broken rabbits in whatever breed need to have, yeah, that one, as cute as it is DQ. You know what, the rabbit, you're right, Mr. Lemon has two problems. One problem is it doesn't have a butterfly. Second of all, it's a hollow knob with 4 ears, meaning the ears are kind of sticking out like this. The ears should drop like this and hug the face. The ears should be perpendicular to the body. Right? The one goes up, yeah, so that's the fault. As long as the ears don't go above this horizontal line, okay? If the ear doesn't go above that, it's fine. It's a fault. Ideally, a lock rabbit should always be locked. But this one has just poor control of the ear. Or poor ear carriage. Broken is a very, very common color in the world, especially in the ARBA. Broken really revolutionized color in the ARBA and rabbit. Broken is the combination of any recognized variety with whites. Okay? We talked about the butterfly being a requirement or some kind of nose marking being a requirement of brokens. They also need to have at least a portion of the ear color and eyes. In a lot of breeds, they also require a minimum of 10% color on the body. Or overall. See, this one's got great light markings. Probably doesn't meet the 10% minimum for broken pattern percentage. This one, on the other hand, is mini-rex. Common disqualifications for mini-rex and rex, for whatever reason, is that they have too much color. They need to be less than 50% color. You can see this rabbit, flip it over, has a white belly. It's like, what, 70% color. That's a DQ. It's so heavy on its body that it doesn't even have any white on its face. It doesn't even have room to make a butterfly because it's so covered in color. So disqualification for a lot of broken rabbits is under 10% or more than 50%. Oops. Is that it? That's it. That's all I got for DQ. So, you guys have any questions pertaining to ARBA disqualifications? By the way, there are more. But I try to hit on the bigger ones. The bigger ones that I see when I come to Asia and we're looking at rabbits that are popular and they're timed and everything.
So over 50% is also DQ.
It is a DQ, yeah. Yeah, and not in every breed, by the way. There are some breeds that are very specific about how much pattern they can have, whether it's a minimum, maximum, or both. Mini Rex, they call for 10 minimum, 50 maximum. Hollow they have a 10 minimum. But honestly, if you had a Holland that looked like this, guess what? It's okay. Because they don't have a maximum. Like,
When you say maximum, the dark color, the light color.
the maximum amount of color for the rodent. So this is the color region, this castor area here. That's the color. It's got more than 50% of it.
So
It's a DQ. Yeah. For whatever reason, Mini Rex and Rex tend to be, they have this DQ more than other breeds. More. Yeah. I don't know why, but it tends to be that way. So, but again, it's, if you want to know what your breed does, get one of these books because it says it very clearly here. And I hope that this talk today helped to kind of define some of those things. But maybe we'll see some other rare things. Undescended when we judge. At any rate, I'm always willing to explain it. Give some time to it. It's important to know what this stuff is. This is the basic stuff. Okay? Any questions? All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Whether you're here in the Philippines or around the world or back home in the U.S., where it's like 3 a.m. where I'm from. I hope that this talk on disqualifications, like the 101 stuff, the basic stuff, help you in your breeding program, or maybe you're an aspiring judge or registrar. Okay?